Race 1 of the weekend at the Nürburgring in the Seat Leon Eurocup could well turn out to be something of a lottery here, because just as the cars were making their way round to the grid, so it has started to rain, and it means that the circuit is now greasy, and it's a real question mark as to what people are going to do on tyres. Do they go wet? You can see that everybody is currently deliberating. The cars are up on jacks. The heavy drizzle we've had, I think, has abated, and so it might be that the road is wet enough to justify the tyres. But if it doesn't rain any more, then those tyres are going to overheat. So it could be that if you tiptoe round on slicks, the road will come to you. It's going to be fascinating here, as I say, to see exactly what people do. The grid is based on a driver's best lap time from yesterday in a championship being led by Paul Rosell, a Spanish driver with lots of experience of Seat racing, as well as other championships like the International GT Open Series, for example, as well. And he comes here 6 points up on the pole man here, Stian Poulsen. But Poulsen, the underfunded Norwegian driver, takes 3 points for being fastest in qualifying. The top three get 3, 2 and 1 respectively, and so a 6-point championship margin is already down to 3 thanks to the efforts of Stian Poulsen in that qualifying session yesterday. And Paul Rosell, in fact, will line up on this grid only 9th. It wasn't the best qualifying effort from him of the year, so Rosell finds himself with work to do, that's for sure. Looking down on the grid, lining up second, is Mauricio Hernandez. Hernandez, who has only really done a part season this year, but could well turn out to be a man to watch in this race, as we wait to see what he does on tyre choice. His car up on jacks at the moment, and it will be at the last moment, I think, that they decide. But is that on slicks or is on wets? It's hard to see under the wheel arch in the gloom. But I think that looking at it now, slicks are going to be the option. It might be difficult for the first couple of laps, but then the road should dry sufficiently. Car number 8 there, looking down for third on the grid. Shane Williams, somebody who's done quite a bit of racing in Germany in his time in the Polo Cup. But the South African driver has also been a regular Seat racer for a number of seasons, but joined this year's campaign pretty late. And the car ready to go. One of the Kraftwerk entered cars, and Shane Williams for third on the grid. Looking further down, lining up on wets is the car there in the hands of Stian Poulsen. You've gone back to see. So slicks, we reckon, for the pole man, Paul Rosell. Yes, there you got the wet standing by, but the decision is not yet to change. So track conditions will be greasy, and surviving the first couple of laps is going to be important, to say the very least. It's a 1-by-1 staggered grid for this race. It will be 12 laps or 40 minutes, depending on which comes first. And having a look through the grid, the entry is a very strong one. These cars new for this year. It is 26 that we have in total on the grid. In terms of race wins, Paul Rosell has had 2, Fran Rueda has had 2, and then it's 1 apiece to Mikael Ascona, Stian Poulsen. Johnny Cocker, who's here racing a GT car, has been a winner, and Loris Hezemans, son of Twan Hezemans, brother of Mike, he had a win also in addition to his Audi TT Cup campaign. All these cars, the same, Seat Leon, built for the championship, 2-litre TSI engines that belt out 330 horsepower, turbocharged 4-cylinder engines. They're front-wheel drive, 6-speed sequential gearbox. They weigh in at about 1,150 kilos and give very good racing indeed. Now looking further back to the grid, we have the likes of Manuel João, who is a long way back and will be one to watch, former Formula 3000 racer, and Finlay Crocker, who is one of the British drivers. There's him and Alex Morgan from the UK. He's at the back as well. Alex Morgan should be one to watch. He will start 8th on this grid. They're looking down to car number 4, which is the Joan Font car. But in a few moments, we should be good to go as the countdown continues. Shane Williams ready. So full wets, seemingly not the answer, because the rain has stopped and anything that did fall onto the ground will soon evaporate. So as we segue our way through the grid, looks like it's going to be either slicks, or if you're allowed a cut slick, that is an option. For championship purposes, it's 10 for a win. Then 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You get these 3, 2, 1 points for qualifying in the top 3. 8 fresh tyres allowed for qualifying and for the 2 races. Same grid for both, except that the second race has a reversal of the top 8 qualifiers. So the driver that is on pole for this, Stian Poulsen, will start 8th for the second race, but 9th and back will be the same. Paul Russell, the reigning champion, incidentally, ahead of Manuel João and Julien Brichet last year, and they're both on the grid, albeit a little bit further back with work to do. Julien Brichet starts 12th. There is Stian Poulsen then at the front of the grid. And looking at it, I don't think anybody now really is considering that wets is all that intelligent, although there are 1 or 2 at the very back, and perhaps there's more to gain if you gamble from the back of the grid. That's still up on stilts. So one of the cars is that of Jean-Laurent Navarro. But who's been to Vegas could be the question. Who's the real true gambler out of all of this? The one still up on its jacks, Guillaume Mondron, who's got a 5-place grid drop anyway from an incident at Paul Ricard. Starts a long way back on the grid. So he is somebody that could roll the dice here. He's nothing to lose, really, by being near the rear of the grid. So the grid is now being cleared. Shortly, we will be in business, as they're ready to go is 33. Jordi Oriola, the younger brother of Pepe Oriola, World Touring Car racer, and an experienced driver, in fact, is Jordi, having raced in karting, in the SEAT French Championship, in the European Touring Car Championship, and in the burgeoning TCR concept as well. And the last car that was on the grid without a decision on tyres is that of Finlay Crocker, and they've just bolted. You can just see at the back there, a brief shot of the Team Pyro mechanics going to work. They've just put onto that car new slicks. So slicks the way to go, and as soon as the track starts to dry a little, and of course as soon as these tyres get a bit of warmth, then it's going to be an okay combination. So be brave to begin with. Now, having said all of that, all it's going to take is for another storm to appear, or a bit more rain to really complicate life, and the decision is completely the wrong one. However, they've, for the moment, made the choice. Slicks it is. And looking back on a grid of very exciting looking touring cars, it's going to be interesting to see how the track conditions change. Now there is number 3, Julien Brichet, with slicks standing alongside, and he is very definitely on wet tyres. That, I would have thought, is not the way to go, looking at the track as it is now, but maybe his weather forecast says there's more rain on the way. The other option is that Brichet is hoping that if the road is damp enough at the start, he can sprint away and build up a big lead. But I would have thought they'll soon overheat those tyres, but we'll see whether Julien Brichet makes the right choice out of all of this. He's 4th this year in the championship. He's not had a win. He's not been that regular a driver on the podium either. He was there at Paul Ricard, but that's about the only time that Julien Brichet has been up at the front, although former Le Mans racer in sports prototypes, he knows what he's doing in a race car. And also going on to slicks is the car of Pierre-Etienne Chaumat. There is one, in fact, that is missing from the grid, just looking down onto it. And it looks as though Marco Pellegrinelli has not made it to the grid. So 16 goes on to slick tyres. Chaumat ready for the start. Everybody else set fair, I think, now, as the countdown is finished. So the tyre trolley is taken away. The teams head back towards the pit lane, and 12 laps in prospect for what should be a very lively race indeed. The man at the back there, you can see number 5, is a car that only did a couple of laps yesterday in the qualifying session, had a problem. That is Thibaut Mourgue, former one-make Peugeot racer. And Thibaut Mourgue with a lot of work to do up from the back of the grid here. So SEAT, which has always been a very prominent brand in motorsport, both with its touring car effort in Britain and in the World Championship, and also in rallying, throwing its weight into this series this year and giving some very good racing on track, but also giving a very well-run championship. And it has its debut at a Blancpain Endurance Series event, but let's hope that there are more visits in the future. On wet tyres, we understand, Brichet, that we have seen, João Font in his Monlau Competition car, also the Hungarian Attila Tassi is on wets, we are told, number 19. 21, the French lady driver Marie Basse-Coppens, and 87, another of the unofficial Coupe des Dames entrants, Adina Bus, the former Lotus Ladies Cup champion. So some being cautious, staying on wets, others being more confident that the track will come to them. So in a moment or two, we should be underway. And number 16, remember we saw Pierre-Etienne Chaumat having his tyres changed. We understand that that happened after the grid to be cleared, work to be stopped point, in other words 3 minutes. And if that is the case, the car has to start out of position, either from the back or from the pit lane. So rather than hold him on the grid and let people drive past, they're going to push the car to the back. So there's been another delay, I understand. It would make more sense just to stop the car from moving and let everyone drive past, but no. Instead, he's going to go to the pit lane this way. Thankfully, he's just near a gate, so that couldn't have been worked out better, could it? So through the gap in the wall, and Chaumat will have to start now from the pits. And that means he's effectively put himself to the very back of the grid. So there'll be a word or two with the team, that's for sure. But it's a privately entered car. Right, everybody else is good to go. 1 minute board is now shown. Standing start for this championship. And the field is about to be released. So Paul Rossel, number 1, is the man who leads the championship from Stian Poulsen, with just those 6, but effectively now 3 points between them if you factor in the qualifying points that are given to Stian Poulsen. And then third is Michael Ascona, and he's gained 2 points by being second fastest in the qualifying session as the cars are about to be released then. Ascona qualified second, but had an incident with another car in the qualifying period, so therefore he gets a grid drop. If you're wondering why, if he was second fastest, he wasn't in that place on the grid. So there are these grid penalties to factor in as well. So, despite all that work the teams have done, and to an extent how it's compromised the efforts of some, you barely think there'd been any rain at all, because now looking down from opposite the start and finish line, it looks pretty dry, the road, there's no rain in the air, and so the formation lap is underway. Stian Poulsen will lead them around, and then we should be getting race 1 of the weekend underway. Now, despite the signs on the start line to the contrary, the rain is falling once again, and it is getting gloomy out on the circuit as well. So Pierre-Etienne Chaumat starts from the pit lane. No respect to the starting procedure is the official explanation given by the race director for this championship. In other words, the countdown was being cycled through and the team continued to work on the car. So by breaking that regulation, so number 16 starts from the pits. So Chaumat has got a lot of work to do, and is it going to be that those that are on slick tyres now start to regret it? Are we going to see a rush of people for the pit lane at the end of this lap, for example? There is Thibaut Mourgue, who had his dramas in qualifying and therefore starts from the back of the grid. And 23, one of the drivers to watch for in this race for certain, is going to be Stefano Zanini, former Maserati racer, former cyclist, and he will be making progress, no doubt, as well. So the grid on this 1x1 staggered formation has Stian Poulsen at the front, ahead, elevated, of Mauricio Hernandez, with Shane Williams third, Fran Reda is fourth, and the penalised second fastest Michael Ascona lines up fifth, ahead of Jordi Oriola. Then comes Mario Dablanda, ahead of the Brit, Alex Morgan. Championship leader Paul Rossel is only ninth, ahead of another experienced ex-GT racer, Lorenzo Vieiro da Vega, then Jürgen Schmal and Julien Brichet on wets, starting 12th on the grid. 13th is where you find the Swiss girl Andrina Guger. 14th, a long way back for an experienced driver, Manuel João. Then comes Lucille Cipriano, ahead from the pits of Pierre-Etienne Chaumat. Missing is Marco Pellegrini. Then you do have on the grid João Font ahead of Stefano Zanini. Then it's Attila Tassi, Maribel Koppen, Zadina Bus, Guillaume Mondron ahead of Jean-Laurent Navarro, Finlay Crocker, and at the back, not shown on that graphic, but he will be there, Thibaut Mourgue, who was not classified yesterday, but he has been allowed on the grid, and the one you saw in the pit lane is Pierre-Etienne Chaumat, who will have to start from the pit road. So, has the makings this of being a very interesting race, not just because of the one-make category. In these proper touring cars, you can see with the flared wheel arches, the kind of cars that could slot into TCR, for example, without too much trouble on the regulations. But also because of the weather conditions, how greasy is it? Will it get better? Will it get worse? What are the tyre choices? And the spots of rain start to fall at certain places once again. Wipers on as the field now works its way up towards the Bilstein curve and then round up towards the grid. Race one of the weekend for these cars. 12 laps or 40 minutes, but it should be on a lap time of 2:07 that they'll achieve that in less than 40 minutes, even allowing for the damper conditions now, but we shall see whether that does turn out to be the case. So Stian Poulsen is the man on pole position. You can hear the little whistles from the turbos in the background. Stian Poulsen, the Norwegian driver who came from the European Touring Car Championship and has never had the biggest of budgets, but what he lacks in money, he certainly makes up for in ability. Very, very quick driver, Stian Poulsen, and it would be good to have him progress into other things. So the Norwegian driver for pole. Then with him at the front of the grid is going to be Mauricio Hernandez in the red and white car. Hernandez, a couple of guest drives last year, but the Costa Rican, still in his teens, in his first full year, former kart racer. There, heading to the grid in number 21, is Maribel Koppens, who used to race in the French Formula 4, the French Formula Academy series, part briefly of the Renault package for a time. And the car's sprinting up towards the grid. So last chance to get any warmth into the tyres. And interestingly, nobody has dived for the pit lane, either to change from wets or to wets. So they're all seemingly content with what they've decided, for the moment at any rate. So the last couple of cars will slot into place, all of them immaculate. Lots of professional teams, many with a good pedigree in international one-make racing that run these cars. One or two British squads evident as well, like Pyro, for example, Mark Hunt's squad that runs the car of Finlay Crocker, the Scotsman from the back of the grid. Whether they are all as pristine come the end of the race is a different question altogether. To place has just arrived Finlay Crocker in the Fleetmatics car, then Thibaut Mourgue slots into his slot at the back. In fact, he's about a car length behind where he needs to be, so certainly no penalty for where he's positioned himself in the background. As the lights go red, the lights go out, we go racing. 12 laps in prospect as the field sprints away. Stian Poulsen makes a good start, tries to get across on Hernandez then, with Shane Williams slotting in behind as they run down towards the first corner, and it is going to be Stian Poulsen that grabs the advantage then round the outside there. Look, tries to go Shane Williams in the red and white car, runs out wide. Do they all get through the Yokohama S safely? No, there's a spin in the middle of the pack, so people scatter in avoidance. Getting away and being able to recover. Lorenzo Beiro de Vega, by the look of it, experienced driver. Strange to see him going off as all over the curb. Stian Poulsen tries to pull out the advantage as they tiptoe their way through the Mercedes arena for the first time. I thought there was going to be more contact there as more bravado was evident up the inside, but the leader is Poulsen then. In second place, it is just Shane Williams going ahead of Hernandez, and then up the inside for fourth place tries to go Jordi Oriola as the field works its way through turns 5 and 6 for the first time, but Oriola loses out. Up on the inside in the red, white and blue car, number 28 goes Fran Raeder as they head downhill for the first time. Side by side look for fourth place. Raeder on the inside, on the outside line there, trying to hang on to the position is Oriola, and He is still on the outside. That will be the inside for the next corner going uphill, but he gets run up onto the curb, keeps his foot in, does Oriola. Sticks out his elbows as well, and Reda has to slot back in behind him. And then next up is the white and black car of Alex Morgan, the Brit, looking very racy early doors, but he gets squeezed into the gravel then. Morgan keeps his foot in because that's going to be the inside line for the next corner, but it doesn't work out for him. There's a drive-through penalty being given as well for Mari Baus-Koppens for not respecting the start procedure. A drive-through for Baus-Koppens, but look at Poulsen getting away. It's for second place. Shane Williams is under attack here. Up the inside comes Mauricio Hernandez. The Costa Rican in the green and white car up the inside tries to squeeze his way by, but that's going to be the outside line for the next corner, and therefore Shane Williams, the South African, hangs on to the position. Williams turns his way through. Former German GT racer, German Seat racer. He's racing the German Polo Cup back in 2008, so he knows all about the Nürburgring. Doesn't lack anything in track knowledge, and he's putting it to good use here. Out of the Coca-Cola curve, up over the timing line, but Stian Poulsen is long gone. His gap's 3.1 seconds already, an extraordinary advantage. Second is Williams, third is Hernandez, fourth is Oriola, fifth is Reda, sixth is Morgan. In seventh place, Michael Ascona, not yet making progress. In eighth place, it is Paul Rossell. Ninth is Mario Davlander, and in 10th spot, Julien Brichet. Now remember that Brichet is on wet tyres. He is down in 10th place, so he's certainly not charged up the order on the opening lap as Alex Morgan there tries to repel the challenge look of and forcing out wide Ascona. Michael Ascona then in the PCR sport car runs very, very wide, and Paul Rossell gets up on the inside of the blue and white car. The championship leader goes by, picks up a place, so that's going to put Rossell now up into 7th spot. Meantime, Hernandez is up into second, looking the green and white car, the first of the two of them, because Jordi Oriola, his teammate, running in 4th spot, keeping at bay for the moment. The car of Fran Reda, and I thought I heard somebody clattering off the road in the background there, but let's have a replay of the start and just look at what a good getaway Stian Poulsen made. A jump from Mari Baus-Koppens giving the drive through. Poulsen gets away well, moves straight across to defend from Hernandez. Shane Williams then to the outside line as they all funnel in towards the Yokohama S, the first part of the Mercedes arena. And there, bang, right into the back. Lorenzo Berro de Vega gets turned around. Certainly not his fault because he was very rudely accosted. And now there's more drama, would you believe, for Pierre-Etienne Chaumat. There's another replay here. Wait for the bang that turns de Vega around, wallop. But remember, he had to start from the pit lane, Chaumat, because of the team working on the car while it was on the grid during the start procedure. Well, when they got it into the pit lane, they worked on it in the fast lane of the pits as well. So he's got a drive-through to add to his woes. It's time to give up on this race, I think. So there's a drive-through for the pit lane starting Pierre-Etienne Chaumat. In the meantime, Julien Brichet, look, in number 3, the blue car there, on wet tyres, going backwards effectively because he's under attack. Look, coming up towards the chicane. Even if the road is wet, certainly not wet enough. João Font is the man up behind him. Font looking for the inside line, but Brichet is struggling. Now, Font, to be fair, is on wets as well, from what we were told on the grid. So both of those cars on wet tyres, but a change of position between them. The leaders go through. Stian Poulsen is now leading by 3.1 seconds. And look, as they come over the line, Brichet fights back as best he can, heading down towards the braking area. And a big lock-up from João Font just up the road ahead, more for the inside line as they wriggle their way round turn 1. But Brichet forced onto the outside line at the Yokohama S. Then that's the inside line for the next part of the Mercedes arena. Tucked up behind him is Jürgen Schmal in the green and white car number 11. And Schmal himself is coming under attack as well as they turn now out of turn 3. Race leading gap, still 3 seconds. Challenge made there on the inside. 23 makes the move. That's Stefano Zanini. That forces Schmal out wide. And Alex Morgan at the inside of Reda, and he gains the place there. That's 5th for the Brit. Alex Morgan through up on the inside, number 22. And Alex Morgan gains the position then. Former Formula Renault hot shoe in the UK. He was a very quick Clio racer as well, having turned his back on single-seaters. Alex Morgan then was the runner-up in the UK Clio Championship 2 years ago. Not quite so good last season, so he's moved to this European Championship for this year. A driver being warned about track limits at the chicane is Finlay Crocker, but he's quite a long way back anyway, in fairness. So the race order on lap 3 of 12 is Stian Poulsen leading then from In second place, Mauricio Hernandez. In third place now, Shane Williams, because they've swapped themselves back into grid order, effectively. Fourth, it is Jordi Oriola. In fifth place, now Alex Morgan. And in real strife there, look, losing handfuls of places. And then a bit of contact is number 4, Joan Font, who's lost ground and then gets completely mugged going through the Bilstein curve. Now, Font had gained ground on Brichet a couple of corners back, but he's on wet tyres, we understand. And perhaps that's part of the reason why he's now struggling, because the tyres are overheating so badly. Wipers are on for some people, though, so it still suggests there's a bit of moisture in the air. Stian Poulsen is the race leader, not using his wipers, comes through. He leads the way. 3.8 seconds up he is now on Hernandez. And Alex Morgan becoming the man to watch, because he's doing good lap times here, hunting down those ahead of him. Down to the braking zone. Second and third running together. Fourth and fifth getting themselves together as well. So Alex Morgan then now up ahead of Fran Rueda, but coming under attack, and there's contact, and a sideways Morgan gets pitched off the road, fights back, but he's lost a couple of places. He's on the outside line now. Michael Azcona comes up on the inside in the red and white car. Morgan to the inside of the next corner. Concertina job, 2 go off, and Morgan gains the places. And heading for the barriers is Rueda. Fran Rueda just able to slow the car down and avoid further contact. I fear there might be some repercussions about that, because that was 3 into 1 that was never going to go. The beneficiary is Alex Morgan. He was on the receiving end a couple of corners before, but he's got the ground back. We'll get a replay, no doubt, in a moment and have another look at it. But forceful stuff, let's put it that way, as that front, Stian Poulsen leads the way. The order shuffled here. Number 1, look, the blue and white car of the championship leader, Paul Rossell, turns down towards the right-hander at the Dunlop curve, but the danger is here that he's going to lose his championship lead to Stian Poulsen. Now here, look, it's Fran Rueda up on the inside, and it looks like there was contact between them there from that angle, so that forces Morgan out wide. He stands his ground. Up the inside comes Michael Azcona, so he goes through. Morgan not quite level with Rueda, who's certainly not level with Azcona, so contact among the 3, and Morgan gets his 2 places back. I'm keeping an eye to the timing screen to see whether there is any investigation about that on the message line. Rueda is going no further. Broken suspension, I fear. A legacy of contact on both sides. In the meantime, Stian Poulsen loves life to the full at the moment, because he is the man very definitely in charge, turning his way up through the right-hander at the Coca-Cola curve at the end of lap number 4 of the 12 that we have. There is Alex Morgan trying to fend off Michael Azcona, who is, I suspect it is fair to say, not amused about the way he got mugged out of the place. So as he comes over the timing line now, Azcona is going to be one to watch. He'll be on a mission here, that's for certain. Through they come, down now towards the Turn 1 Mercedes Arena approach, the Yokohama S, the right, the left. And there, look, Paul Rossell in the blue and white car now, starting to get onto the back of this little battle ahead of him, because Alex Morgan is busy trying to defend. Right on his tail now, Michael Azcona, look, in the white and red and black car. Paul Rossell in the blue and white colours is next in the queue. This is lap 5 out of 12. And Azcona, wheel lifting, tries the outside, it doesn't work. He leaves the door open, and trying to get up the inside there was Rossell. Down the pit road, incidentally, has just come Attila Tassi. Now, that was a car that started on wet tyres. Interesting that it's a pit stop. I wonder whether it's going to be to put it onto slicks or whether it's going to be pushed away. It looks like it's going to be for tyres, doesn't it? Because it won't be a 4-second type pit stop, this, but tyres look like they are going to have to be changed. The wet's overheating. So Julien Brichet, who is down in 19th place, having the same problem. Pierre-Etienne Chomat is coming into the pits to serve his drive-through. Michael Azcona is up the inside of Alex Morgan, and he gains the place. So for 5th position, Azcona goes through, and the incident involving Alex Morgan is under investigation. So Alex Morgan is under investigation. It says turn 15, intriguingly, which was the last corner rather than the S's where it all happened. But anyway, he's under investigation, and he's about to lose out to Paul Rossell. Up the inside through turn 5, the championship leader tries to make a bid. Does that pay off? Not that time, it doesn't. So Alex Morgan stays ahead on the run now towards the Ad Van Bogen. Apologies, that was out of the Bilstein curve they were coming, not 5. So Morgan stands his ground. Behind Rossell, look, you've got Mario Dablander, who's also trying to get into this mix. But having gone through, looks like now Michael Azcona is being able to pull away. Through they turn, up towards the Last corner on the lap as over the timing line goes Stian Poulsen, miles clear of anybody else in the race. A perfect drive this by Poulsen. He's 5 seconds ahead of Hernandez. Third is Shane Williams, not really now being able to fight back. In fourth place, it is Jordi Oriola. Fifth is now Ascona. Sixth, it is Alex Morgan. But for how much longer? Because seventh, Paul Rossell, right up behind him as they drop down now into turn one. Morgan certainly is under attack, and Alex Morgan is being given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. So 22, Alex Morgan gets a drive-through. He's fending off Paul Rossell at the moment, who in turn is fending off Mario Dablander, but it's going to be a drive-through penalty, that's for certain, for Alex Morgan. The fact that he was elbowed out a corner before kind of doesn't really matter, because he was the aggressor, and a three-car incident means that he gets penalised for it. Paul Rossell is busy defending from Mario Dablander there. Look, in number 61, the Austrian driver hunting down the Spaniard. The Brit, though, running fifth on the road, set to be penalised, is Alex Morgan. Downhill have gone the race leaders. Still, it is Stian Poulsen who leads the way. Now, in the first sector, the gap between him and Mauricio Hernandez, the Costa Rican, had come down by 0.3 of a second. So can Hernandez now do anything about Poulsen? Has Poulsen asked too much too early of his tyres? The Bapora Motorsport car having its drive-through confirmed. Alex Morgan. Don't forget this man, though. Stian Poulsen, absolutely dominant up front. Turning his way now out of the Ad Van Bogen. The road climbs up towards the chicane. He brakes hard, goes down through the gears, and uses the F1 version, the tighter chicane. The GT cars here this weekend using the softer version, the motorcycle chicane. But for these cars, it's that much tighter run through the right and the left. There, Alex Morgan versus Paul Rossell. Morgan forced off the road, but he should come in anyway to serve that drive-through, which he does. But he doesn't go down without a fight, does he? That's for certain. Into the pits then comes Alex Morgan, and Mario Dablander look right up the inside of Paul Rossell. So side by side as they come over the timing line, who's it going to be? Dablander is through. Mario Dablander goes ahead in the orange and grey car. He's up the inside of Paul Rossell. Right there behind them now also, it is in 5, the charging Thibaut Mourgue up from the back of the grid, don't forget. And he's now running in 8th position. There it is, the white and gold car. Absolutely fantastic drive this by Mourgue. He's done some Peugeot one-mate racing in his time, but this, tremendous effort, having had problems yesterday that put him to the back of the grid. Thibaut Mourgue then up to now 8th place, and the way that this battle is going ahead of him suggests that he might be able to gain another track position or two before the very end. Mario Dablander up now into the top 6 at the expense of Paul Rossell, and you can see he's being reeled in by the charging French driver. Thibaut Mourgue sets off downhill. Now, Mourgue is somebody who's not really shone this year in the championship. He doesn't feature in the top 10. He's not been on the podium all season, so this looking as though it's going to be his day of days in the championship. Tremendous fight up through the order, and so Mourgue now turning his way uphill. Paul Rossell riding the curb. Meantime, there you can see Shane Williams running in his 3rd place, being caught a little bit now by Jordi Oriola. Drivers being warned about track limits include Manuel Joao, who is a long way back down in 11th place, and also another driver being warned, Alex Morgan. So he's got the drive-through, which of course has dropped him down the order. We'll pick him up at the end of the next lap and see where it's put him to. There in number 10 is Mauricio Hernandez, and for 3rd place, Shane Williams, who was 2nd, remember, early on, is now coming under attack. The gap's come right down between him and Jordi Oriola behind, so that gap continues to come down and down and down. We're on lap 7. Through the Coca-Cola curve they come. Their 5th is Michael Ascona. Don't rule him out yet of gaining more ground before the very end of the race. The leaders come by over the timing line. That's the pits. Stian Poulsen is still a monster, 5.7 seconds. There's somebody with a loose splitter by the sound of it, because on certain camera shots, as they brake for a corner and the cars drop, you can hear something drag along the ground. So it's within that leading group. Might be Williams, of course, which could account for why he's starting to lose some pace. bold effort there made up on the inside by Jürgen Schmal to try to find a way past Manuel João, but João fends him off, and there, having gone off the road, is Pierre-Etienne Chaumat, but who else? Pit lane start, drive-through penalty, off at the chicane. Life gets no better for him at all, does it? Good battle going on there, look, between Attila Tassi and Edina Bus, the two Hungarians running together. Edina Bus, former Lotus Ladies Cup champion, switching to the rather more competitive SEAT competition this year, and tries the outside line coming into turn one, but Tassi, who has rejoined after a pit stop, hangs on to 22nd place there. Through the Mercedes arena they come. Other drivers that started on wets, Julien Brichet, 19th place. He's lapping now 9 seconds a lap slower than the race leader, Stian Poulsen. And Poulsen did the fastest lap of the race last time. So Brichet definitely made the wrong call on tyres. It may have looked at one point like it was going to be a very wet race, but track conditions have certainly worked out for the better. Now, where did Alex Morgan feed back in after the drive-through penalty? We'll check that one at the end of the next lap as the leaders work their way up towards the chicane once more. Out of it will come Stian Poulsen in the race lead, building the gap in sector one, building the gap in sector two. Curve comes Jordi Oriola, he's fourth, he's building up. Fifth spot, so through they come. Sixth is Dablander, seventh is Rossell, eighth now is Morg, ninth is Andrina Guga, 10th is João. Alex Morgan is 18th after the drive-through penalty was completed. The leaders for the 9th time round turn one, and under attack is Shane Williams. He lost that second place, remember, to Mauricio Hernandez earlier on. But it looks as though he might lose another place before the end. Williams trying to hang on to a place on the podium. And down towards turn 5 they come. This lap number 9 up front. Stian Poulsen continues to dominate the race with an absolutely exemplary drive. The Brits have got themselves together 17th and 18th, really, Alex Morgan and Finlay Crocker. But part of that is because of Morgan's penalty, of course. Now downhill comes the 3rd, 4th and 5th fight from Williams' point of view as he goes deep into the corner looking for a bit more traction. It would help him if Azcona joined right onto the back of 33 Oriola, because it would distract him a little bit and start to let them battle and hold themselves up so Williams can pull away. Incidentally, as you look at this fight, 3rd, 4th, 5th, Julien Brichet into the pits on his wet tyres. He's given up the unequal struggle. The road has dried out sufficiently for it just not to be possible. The fight for 4th is starting to happen, isn't it? Look, Azcona is that little bit nearer as they work their way now through the exit of the Bilstein curve. Now, by dint of Oriola going a bit wide through the Schumacher-esque, the gap has come down, but Williams there, look, in his 3rd place, doing his best to escape up the road. They work their way towards the chicane. In 2nd place is Hernandez still, who's clear of the battle pack behind him, but he's so far adrift now of Poulsen that he needs really a nightmare to happen for the Norwegian in order to buy back any of that lost time. In towards the Coca-Cola curve they come. Shane Williams turns his way through and up over the timing line. The road getting drier, the road getting quicker, and conditions brightening as well as they come now up past the pits. So Stian Poulsen it is leading the way. The gap now 7.2 seconds. 3rd, 4th, 5th, down towards turn 1. Again, you can hear that grinding on the ground. I'm convinced it is Williams' car that's doing that as he drops the car on its nose, hard on the brakes, up now through the Mercedes arena. Have a look behind, Oriola under attack, the green and white car with Michael Azcona tucked up behind and now almost alongside. Azcona, who was the runner-up in last year's Renault Clio Eurocup, tries to find a way through. That doesn't pay off. And now they sprint down once more towards the turn 5-6S sequence. The road dropping downhill all the time at this point. So there in 8 is Shane Williams, and very definitely back on his tail has come Oriola. Azcona is there in the mix as well as they work their way downhill once more. But for Shane Williams, with all of his track knowledge being put to good use here, he's going to have to really call on that. You can see how committed the two behind are, but Azcona looks like he's got the speed now to make a move against Oriola. Lines up on the inside. He came from a long way back and sort of telegraphed that well in advance of the move. So He had a long look, he was on a different line, but it wasn't that difficult either, really, to cut across as far as Oriola was concerned and cover the line. Julien Brichet there, out of the car, out of the race, out of weather forecasters. Third, fourth, fifth, back into view, lap 10. And still Ascona is the one pushing there. Look, you can see in fifth place at the back of that duo, trying to find a way past Jordi Oriola, who in turn is pushing down Shane. That is Ascona. Now that, because it's a bit damp, probably worked in his favour. Had that been drier, it might have ensnared him a bit more, but the compacted wet gravel sometimes allows you to drive out, so it didn't have quite the same devastating effect. The leaders are coming through the chicane, and what else can Ascona do? He's got the speed, he's using the curbs busily. And not only is he on the back now of Oriola, but this is spurring on Jordi Oriola to get back onto terms with Shane Williams. So they round the Coca-Cola curve, they sprint once more down towards turn 1. Over the timing line they come, the three of them running together, and now look, Williams has to go defensive. He hugs the inside line. Ascona's going to be the real danger in this though, because as round the outside of Williams goes Oriola, the danger is that both of them run out wide, which they do. So back up into third goes Williams, but up to fourth comes Mikel Ascona. He saw that coming. He was prepared to let Oriola make the move, and now look, Ascona gets the inside on Shane Williams. Fantastic, he's gained one spot, he's about to gain the other on the inside there, breaks as late as he does, runs wide, that forces Williams off the line and he can't retaliate at the next corner, and so through goes, but off the road goes Mikel Ascona. He's back on track, just ahead of side-by-side for fourth. Oriola is on the outside line, on the inside is Shane Williams. Now who's got the speed down towards the next sequence? They're still side-by-side, off the road, possibly with contact, goes Oriola into the gravel, out of the gravel, over the grass, over the curb, onto the tarmac, but he's lost more places. Has the car suffered any damage in all of that? He's ahead of Paul Rossell, so he's down to sixth. Mario Dablanda has just got past him as well. And so, Jordi Oriola's efforts 6 corners ago to take third place have ended up in him having a wild old ride over the grass, toboggan style, and he rejoins in 6th place. All of that means now that Shane Williams has lost out, and so has the car of Mikel Ascona, in a sense, because of the battle it's had, but Ascona now asserts himself and does go ahead of Shane Williams. Up into 5th then will come Dablanda, their 6th is Oriola, 7th still is Paul Rossell. Can he take advantage? Doesn't look like it. So this is the race leader, remember, with 1 lap to go at the end of this. Stian Poulsen leads, 2nd is Mauricio Hernandez, but now 3rd from 5th, it is Mikel Ascona. Poulsen's car with barely a mark on it. He's barely seen anybody else race long anyway. He works his way now up towards the timing line. Poulsen, who's got designs on a touring car future, comes past the pits, being pursued now by, in 2nd spot, Mauricio Hernandez. So Norway leads to Costa Rica. And then into 3rd place now, Mikel Ascona, who comes across the timing line. He's too far back, isn't he, to challenge for another place. 3.6 seconds adrift he is indeed. It's been a very, very good effort as Shane Williams goes through now 4th. Mario Dablanda is 5th. They're 6th and 7th. This is the one to watch on the last lap, I reckon. Jordi Oriola just ahead of Paul Rossell. Rossell has not sparkled all weekend. Qualified pretty averagely, and his race has been a bit undercooked as well. He's not made the progress through the order. He's only really involved in this battle thanks to going off the road, Jordi Oriola. He's not got up behind on speed. It was Oriola that went off the road. Sequence of corners at the Mercedes Arena, down to 5 and 6 now. And actually, Dablanda is not that far adrift of the traffic ahead of him. He was a 2.5 seconds away from Williams at the start of the lap. There it is. And Mario Dablanda getting faster and faster. The Austrian driver hunting down for another place. Look up the road ahead. Look, you can see the next pair. Number 1 is Rossell on the back of Oriola, but ahead of them, Williams versus Dablanda for 4th place. Hard on the brakes. Paul Rossell almost into the back of Oriola there. Just got the car slowed down in time. And so the Spanish drivers scrap amongst themselves as they climb uphill now, heading into the Schumacher S this time around. Through it comes. Jordi Oriola rides the curb on the in, rides the curb on the out. And there, look, further up the road, Shane Williams coming under attack for his 4th place from Dablanda. Stian Poulsen, though, is on target for the race win. The field turning its way for the last time into the chicane, and what a race from Stian Poulsen. He has not put a wheel wrong. Absolutely fantastic effort this. He turns his way now through the chicane up towards the Coca-Cola curve, And victory is going to go the way of the Norwegian driver, and with some style, it has got to be said. Up towards the timing line he comes, and Stian Poulsen it is who scores victory then here at the Nürburgring. Poulsen is the race. And a long way back for second place now. Mauricio Hernandez comes through 7.5 seconds adrift, and we're not done yet, because the battle for sixth between Oriola and Rossell is nose to tail, and they're almost level as they head up towards the line. But it is going to be Oriola for sixth, Rossell seventh. The podium was rounded out by Michael Azcona. Fourth was Williams, who fended off Dablander, and Oriola, as you've just seen, fended off the challenge of Rossell for sixth place, with eighth going the way of, from the very back of the grid, Thibaut Mourgue. Ninth going to Andrina Guga, one-time Blancpain Endurance Series racer in its first year, which she had for a couple of races, a GT4 spec Maserati. And 10th, Manuel Joao. So, with everybody except Stian Poulsen having had a good race, a very good race it was, but Poulsen just dominant up front, nobody able to touch him. And a very impressive drive, certainly, by the Norwegian. As I say, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes next. He is leaning more towards a touring car career and hoping perhaps that a good season in this, and he's now the championship leader, provisionally, will put him into contention for a manufacturer seat for the future. But manufacturer drivers in touring car racing these days, not that common, of course. Fewer manufacturers involved in the World Touring Car Championship. It's becoming more private teams in touring car racing these days. However, a great drive by Stian Poulsen. Second, Mauricio Hernandez. The gap at the end, 7.5 seconds. And then third, and a good fight this as well, to get himself up the order, was Michael Azcona. And tomorrow's race, effectively the same grid, but the top 8 being reversed. Andrina Guga will go to the podium as the winner of the Coupe des Dames. And let's confirm the way they came across the line, with Stian Poulsen the winner from Mauricio Hernandez, the Costa Rican teenager, ahead of Michael Azcona. Then Shane Williams fourth, having been second early on. Fifth was Mario Dablander, ahead of Jordi Oriola. Paul Rossell seventh from Thibaut Mourgue. Then Andrina Guga, ninth from Manuel Joao. Jürgen Schmal was 11th, and Lucille Cipriano rounded out the top dozen. Stefano Zanini was 13th after his lap 1 spin. Lorenzo Bielo de Vega 14th from Guillaume Mondron. Then it was Jean-Laurent Navarro, Alex Morgan and Finlay Crocker 17th and 18th. Morgan after his drive-through. Many a penalty for Choma, a tyre stop for João Font, and then a lap down were Tassi and Boos and Coppens. Julien Brichet gave up the race as a bad job. And Fran Rueda, we saw also in retirement, damage to his car in that skirmish with Morgan. Marco Pellegrini never got into the race, sad to say. And so, race 1 of 2 for the Seat Leon Eurocup. The second race tomorrow morning here at the Nürburgring. But on the evidence of today, they're going to have to go some in order to stop Stian Poulsen. Just an excellent drive, that. And under somewhat threatening clouds, the Seat teams will receive their cars. Some go to park, others not, and they will have the Swiss girl. And there is the hero of the day, Stian Poulsen. Fantastic drive. A very, very happy team as well, ready to receive the Norwegian driver. And in a moment, he will clamber out of the car. Cheers all round. And Stian Poulsen with second win of the year. An excellent, excellent drive. That the man who came here 6 points back, he narrowed the margin to 3. Argue with the description of perfect, can you? So, top job, Stian Poulsen. He'll go to the top step of the podium. Poulsen having been a winner at Silverstone, in fact, back in June. And with Mikel Azcona having been a victor, he ended up third. Fran Reda, a winner this year, he retired. Paul Rossell, a winner this year, he was only seventh. Indeed, Rossell is a double winner. Jonathan Cocker not here, nor Loris Hezemans. Stian Poulsen, massively impressive. Let's hear from him. Stian Poulsen wins. He's with OJ Borg.
Stian, a fantastic win, dominating from the start to the finish.
Yes, it actually was. It feels like it's Sunday today, actually, because in the end it was like a Sunday ride, but I don't know what the other one was doing, but I was actually taking it easy and I just pulled a really big gap, so I was a little bit surprised.
As a racing driver, do you like it when you do dominate like that, or when it's more of a race, when you've got people around you, you're fighting for position?
Now, of course, it's a really good feeling when you see that you're going to win. If you don't do any mistake or have some problems, but tomorrow going to be exciting because I start 8, and I love to start from behind and chasing. So, but of course, I'm really happy for the win.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So remember the name, Stian Poulsen, somebody one would hope with a good touring car career ahead of him. The Norwegian driver then now makes his way towards the podium. Congratulations offered to him en route. And the other drivers there. And Stian Poulsen, he said tomorrow he will start 8th. That's because you take the grid but you reverse the top 8 qualifiers. So 8th he will be, and that means that tomorrow's race is going to have Alex Morgan on pole position. Well, Morgan raced pretty feisily in that, so it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how he fares, Alex Morgan, from the front. In that, perhaps we didn't really see the best of him because of the drive-through that he suffered as a result of the incident. But Morgan from the... So drivers now go into the race control building, into the darkness, and then they work their way to the podium room, up the stairs. The drivers discussing their battles with one another on the way to the podium itself. The SEAT Leon Eurocup giving some very, very good racing. Last year, Paul Rossell, the champion, struggling at the moment to build the lead, but more of a struggle for Julien Brichet. Third last year, hasn't been on the podium yet. Another poor result with the car there not being able to gain anything at all out of that race. So drivers make their way along the corridor. This is where it becomes time consuming because they're so busy talking about their race and in some detail as well. Stian Poulsen then with a great drive from the Norwegian driver, the new championship leader, about to lead the drivers to the podium. And tomorrow's race promises to be just as lively, that's for certain. Especially with the top 8 being reversed on the grid. Amazing, isn't it, when a driver says he was taking it easy, how the gap comes, but maybe it's all part of that smoothness rather than over-driving that has helped stand in good stead the race winner. And Stian Poulsen, having had a win at one Grand Prix venue this year, Silverstone, that comes to another modern-day F1 venue and scores a second victory of the season, and an important one as well as far as the championship is concerned. So as soon as the championship organisers are happy, then the drivers will be brought out onto the podium. And instructions are barked. And so I think we are just about good to go with Stian Poulsen as the race winner. The noise you can hear in the background is the Pit lane klaxon sounding as the next grid of cars heads down the pit road ready for its race. But before that, there are the Seat Leon Eurocup drivers to come to the podium. And so for his third place, Mikel Azcona is introduced for the podium. For second place, Mauricio Hernandez makes his way forward. And then for the top step of the podium, a second win of the year. What a drive for Stian Poulsen. He stands on the top step, the Norwegian driver, a very happy man. Andrina Guga, as the winner of the ladies contest, is there as well. So Stian Poulsen, after that tremendous drive, will in a moment receive the winner's spoils. He stands proudly on the top step of the podium, and after a fabulous effort, the trophies are brought forward. A win for Poulsen, but third, first of all, goes to Mikel Azcona. Second place trophy to Mauricio Hernandez, and Bernhard Bauer of Seat Deutschland is the man who gives the trophy to the race winner. And a very, very happy man it is. Andrina Guga receives her trophy as the winner of the ladies class. And they all get together for photographs on the top step of the podium. And now the champagne set to be sprayed by the drivers, with Stian Poulsen being the happiest of all. Make sure he gets his own back on Mikel Azcona. This could all end in tears, couldn't it? But the champagne is sprayed, and race honours to Stian Poulsen. That, I think, has been the hardest work he's had for the last 40 minutes. And so they will continue their battle tomorrow, where from 8th on the grid, Poulsen is trying to make progress if he can. Well, I'm sure he will, but the rest are certainly going to be determined to stop him. A great drive put forward by the race winner, Stian Poulsen. Let's have a look back at the highlights. Well, the lights went out. There was no stopping Stian Poulsen, who rocketed away from the grid, moved across to defend from Mauricio Hernandez on the run down towards the first corner, and he left everybody else squabbling behind him. Almost from that moment on, the race was signed and sealed, because so busy was everybody else squabbling over second place, there was little they could do to stop Poulsen from building that lead. Lorenzo Berna de Vega was given a big whack from behind. That turned him around. Others had to scatter in avoidance. And it gave de Vega a long job up through the order. Alex Morgan was working hard early doors in the race, but then he was elbowed out wide by Fran Reda. Morgan sideways managed to just about hang on to it, but he ran wide off the road, got back on, and Mikel Azcona came up the inside. The three of them ran together as best they could round turn 3. At turn 4, it all concertinated together. Azcona lucky to escape despite the contact. In the end, he bagged third overall. Morgan lost the place to him, and he would lose more before the end, courtesy of a drive-through penalty for his place in the incident. Pierre-Etienne Chaumat has started from the pit lane, got the chicane wrong and went off the road. Used the cut through to good effect and got back onto the circuit as Shane Williams tried to defend from Jordi Oriola. Behind was Mikel Azcona. Oriola braked as late as he dared going into turn 1. Williams braked late as well. They both ran off the road, and that meant that up and past them went Ascona. Oriola ran out of road completely through the gravel, over the grass, and back onto the circuit. Through it all came Stian Poulsen to score victory in race 1. Tomorrow's promises to be another fascinating race here at the Nürburgring. Join us for that tomorrow morning if you can. For now, from OJ Borg in the pits and David Addison trackside, it's bye-bye.